What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Today, guys, we're going to be talking the Indianapolis Colts versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Game preview. Today, I have Kenny King from Real Talk on Blue Wire Pods. How are you today, my friend?
Doing good, Derek. How's it going?
Not too bad, man. I wish I could say the same thing for my team, and I'm sure you could probably say the same thing for yours. We all know the issues surrounding the Indianapolis Colts right now, and that's just the fact that the offense for the Indianapolis Colts has been a total letdown this year in every aspect. I feel like I can almost say the same thing for your offense.
Yeah.
What's been going on? Your guys' record is nowhere near what I thought the Raiders were going to be this year. They brought in Davante Adams, and there was this whole grandstand that they could have one of the best offenses in the entire AFC West, and it really just hasn't been anything like that.
Yeah, it's kind of one hit after another, right? You bring in Davante Adams, you think that that's going to blow up. You've got, you re-sign Darren Waller to a big contract. You re-sign Hunter Renfrow to a big contract. Offensive line is kind of shaky, but the offensive line was shaky last year. You've got Josh Jacobs, so you deny his fifth-year option, but he's playing like a man possessed trying to get a contract. Mm-hmm. And then you look at this team and you see, okay, this team is 2-6. They're at the bottom of the AFC West. You have Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller just go out on the IR. Mm-hmm. You have Davante Adams, who is balling. He's got 7 touchdowns on the season. But then you look at these games where you've got 3 games where the Raiders have a 17-0 lead, and then at halftime they forget how to play football, or Josh McDaniels forgets how to coach football, or kind of a little bit of both, right? And I think what we're seeing a little bit of Josh McDaniels' ego taking advantage of this roster and limiting Derek Carr and what he's able to do as a quarterback, and also limit these guys and what they can do as an offense. Because this team, on paper, they should be, at the worst, they should be 5-3. At the very best, they should. They really could be undefeated if they really put everything together. But it's been really disappointing to see. And, quite frankly, everybody wants to see him turn around. Everybody wants to see this team. And and the other thing is, when we look around the AFC West, you've got 3 other teams. Well, actually 2 other teams that are kind of, in that same place. And it all comes down to coaching. You've got Hackett over in Denver, who, we don't know what's going on over there. And then you've got Staley, who's making crazy decisions in Los Angeles. But luckily, the Chargers are pulling out some wins.
Yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride. And, I've been saying it with my friends that we thought that the way Josh McDaniels is handling this team, we didn't think his tenure was going to last till the end of the season. Explain a little more to me on the job that Josh McDaniels is doing. Obviously, we all said, I said before the season started, either Josh McDaniels is going to take this team over the top or he's going to run it into the ground. Yeah. And right now it feels like running it into the ground. What has Josh McDaniels been doing that's just kind of held this team back, as you said?
For me, some of the things that I'm seeing, it's kind of the boneheaded plays or the boneheaded calls. You look at the second half of the Jaguar game. Raiders are up 17-0. You go in the halftime. They're throwing the ball at will. Derek's throwing to Davante all day. Second half of the game, they come out and they start running the ball. Now, you run the ball the whole game. You're throwing the ball the first half. You're up. You're winning, and then all of a sudden you decide to play conservatively and start running the ball. That's one of the things. And then when you finally stop running the ball, it's a 3rd and 2. Then you want to throw a pass when you've got one of the best running backs in the league who can get you 2 yards. So it's just a lot of boneheaded calls where it just doesn't make sense. And one of the things that I've noticed is that Derek Carr has previously had autonomy at the line of scrimmage to change out of plays and to audible out of plays. And we're not seeing that this year. So I think that that's one of the things that's kind of holding them back. I get it. Josh McDaniels wants to put his system in place and he wants to put his stuff out there. But at the same time, you got to let your athletes play. And if you have athletes out there that can make plays, and go out there and do it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's weird because, like you said, the production has not matched with the level of talent that this team actually has. Derek Carr, completing 62% of his passes, 1,880 yards. By all means, not terrible, but it certainly isn't the numbers that I think some people were expecting from him
Yeah.
due to, like you said, I mean, Davante Adams is a walking 100-yard guy any single week if you just get him the football.
Yep.
11 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Like you said, 17 sacks. I mean, I just look at it from that perspective of looking at what Matt Ryan did in his first 7 games. Obviously, Matt Ryan might get benched for the whole rest of the year, but even Matt Ryan has like over 200 more yards. He's got almost the same number of touchdowns, but he's been sacked double the amount of times, So, and the completion percentage for Matt Ryan's also been a full 6% higher. So he's been even more accurate. I mean, do you think that the Josh McDaniels system has more to blame with that? Or do you think Derek Carr may not be as just as in sync with everybody as what everyone expected? Because, he has the connection with Davante, but Waller's been out for half the year. Renfro's been having issues. It feels like he's losing a lot of his guys every week.
Typically, I would say, if it was a new quarterback in a new system, then I would say maybe. But given the fact that Derek has done this year in and year out with new guys every year, I mean, you had Nelson Aguilar who came in and had 1,000-yard season. You had Hunter Renfrow who had 1,000-yard season last year. You had Zay Jones who got himself a big contract off of the season that he had. Jared Cook. I mean, the list goes on and on of guys that got paid by being with Derek Carr for a season. And so, you look at the one variable, and the one variable is Josh McDaniels. I think that system is, and Davante's gone on record to say it. Darren Waller's gone on record to say it, that their system is basically like Mandarin, learning Mandarin. And Mandarin is one of the hardest languages in the world to learn. So when you're going from, knowing something and doing this to everybody trying to be on the same page, and for me watching the games, you just see guys that are out of position. I've seen Tay out of position. I've seen Renfrow out of position. I've seen, Foster Moreau out of position. So it's all these guys just in different spots where they're not supposed to be. We saw it in the Chiefs game where Renfrow and Tay ran into each other. You wouldn't normally see that in a regular game, or you wouldn't normally see that previously. And so I think it's a lot of guys just not being on the same page. Derek being one of them. I think that, Derek expects his receivers to be in one spot. The receivers expect to be in another spot. And I think it really comes down to, this is week 8 and you guys need to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, going into the wide receivers here, I mean, it's also weird looking at Davante Adams' numbers because, 7 touchdowns on 48 receptions. I mean, that's very impressive to say the least in the touchdown category, but he's been targeted 85 times this year. And that's almost double the next leading targets that you guys have. And it's just weird because only 48 receptions on 85 targets. I mean, literally, he's only catching half the balls that are thrown his direction. It seems odd because explain that to me, because 48 receptions on 85 targets, either that means there's an insane drop problem or Derek Carr's just not getting the football to him very efficiently. Which one is it right now?
It's the latter. So it's the latter. So he's not really dropping. I think he has a total of maybe, I would say 3 or 4 drops on the season, and I believe they all came last week against the Jags. It's the efficiency, and I think that we're seeing it with Carr across the board right now is that efficiency isn't there. I think the other thing too is you take into account the Chiefs game where there are two pass interference that were called that were thrown to Tay. So those are 2 passes there. He uses Tay a lot in those jump balls to get that pass interference. There's some where Tay is kind of inadvertently the guy who's marked down as a receiver who the ball's supposed to go to when it's not actually Tay. But yeah, I mean, the number's inflated, but at the same time, there is definitely an efficiency issue. And I think that the execution on all levels of the team, offense, defense, coaching, special teams, it's off the board right now.
Yeah, so you mentioned it at the top of the show, Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller both going to the IR. Both guys that Hunter Renfrow, who killed us last year, was pretty much the reason why the Raiders won the game was Hunter Renfrow. That's a huge loss for you guys, both of them. I mean, outside of Davante, going up against this Indianapolis defense, which by all accounts has practically been a top 10 defense right on the fringe there. who do you think needs to step up in the receiving department for the Raiders in order to win this game against the defense?
This is going to be a game where you're going to see Mac Hollins and Foster Moreau step up. I know Foster had a good game against you guys a couple years back. I think 2020 was the year where he had a couple good plays. But he's going to be a guy that's going to have to step up. He's been continuously stepping up. Jacob Hollister is going to get involved in the passing game a little bit more. We just picked him up off the Vikings practice squad. But Mac Hollins is going to be that guy who's going to be that number 2 target, who's going to be the guy who's really going to have to step up and is going to fill into that slot role and be that new Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs, I mean, fantastic year that he's having. Like you said, I think he is trying to play his way into a new contract, whether that be with the Raiders or with somebody else here shortly. I mean, averaging 5.5 yards per carry right now, which I think total yardage, I think he's up there in the top 6 right now. I mean, he's been phenomenal. There's been a couple games where he has really taken over, especially as of recently. This Colts defense that you're going to be facing, I mean, they got some real big studs there in the middle of the field. You know, you got Grover Stewart, who's been probably the best defensive tackle at stopping the run of any defensive tackle in the league. DeForest Buckner, everyone knows his name. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, Kwity Paye, who just came back from injury, he was a huge boost to the Colts run defense this last week against the Patriots. How confident are you in the Raiders being able to attack this front of the Indianapolis Colts, which excels at stopping the run?
I'm confident about what they can do against the run just because of the fact of the way that the offensive line schemes and the way the offensive line matches up in the blocking. I think that they're going to have to start out early and start out, you know, just get off the bat with it. Where I'm going to be looking at mostly is not going to be in the running game. I think that the Raiders will be able to establish the run early. Is what happens in the passing game. I'm really curious. I got my eyes on Yannick Ngakoue. He left us we let him go after last season. I didn't like the move. He followed Gus Bradley to where Gus went. We saw that coming. But he said that he's going to make the Raiders pay. So my eye is going to be on him to see if he actually does try to make the Raiders pay.
It'll be very interesting. I'll say this just for you guys. If anything, I think the one route that you guys need to run the most in this game, or at least capitalize a few times, is running a halfback slip screen with Josh Jacobs. It's worked. It's the one play that has worked time and time again against the Indianapolis Colts defense. It seems to be the only thing that we just seem to not to be able to stop.
That for you guys is like tight ends for us.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks because it happens once or twice a game. They run a freaking screen. It seems like the Colts figured it out, but then they get one block and then it's like a 20, 25, 30-yard gain that just ruins a drive. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Now going to the Colts offense and then the Raiders defense. No secret, this Colts offensive line has been absolutely atrocious this year. They're giving up an average of 4 sacks per game right now, leading the league by a lot. And the Colts just fired their head coach, Frank Reich. So now they're going to be under a new direction in Jeff Saturday, and how they're going to approach the game plan, I have no idea. But, that front 7 that you guys have, I mean, it's definitely a very solid one. Chandler Jones, Max Crosby, guys who are very well respected in the league for what they do. Having Denzel Perryman in the middle, a very respected guy. I mean, I think that this is a defense that, what do you think the Raiders defense needs to do in order to attack this Colts offensive line that's been struggling?
Yeah, I mean, what the Raiders defense needs to do is this is a game where the Raiders defense can build their confidence back. Max he's been having a solid season, and he's been, quietly putting up numbers and quietly getting pressure still. This is an opportunity for Chandler Jones to kind of have a come to Jesus game where he actually earns his contract, to be quite frank with you. Where I look at, some areas of opportunity is for some of these young guys to step up at linebacker. We had Blake Martinez, who just retired. We had Divine Diablo just go out on the injured reserve list. So these young guys are going to be stepping up. Denzel Perryman may not play. So those are going to be the big question marks there is who's going to come in linebacker. You're going to have guys that are coming in off the practice squad, 2-3 day practices. So that's going to be a big question mark there. The defensive tackles, Bilal Nichols and Neil Farrell Jr., those are guys that are going to have to get after, and they're going to have to put some pressure up the middle, especially if Jonathan Taylor plays. I saw that he practiced full go today, and so that's going to be the big question mark. Is if he's there Sunday, I know that's going to be your guys' number one game plan, and the Raiders have to prepare for that. If he doesn't go, then the question is, what are the Raiders going to do? And that's where Max and Jones just have to tee off and just get after it, and hopefully these guys, have a good day on defense.
Yeah, I wish I could say Jonathan Taylor's impact would be immediately felt when he comes out there, but this whole season has just not been that way.
It's been strange,
Jonathan Taylor has a few good plays every game, but nothing compared to what we saw last year. Just because the offensive line just is incapable of gaining a push right now on anything, and Jonathan Taylor's trying to improvise because there's just nowhere to run. He's sometimes having to dance behind the line, trying to hit a hole that's not there, or just has to say, screw it, just run through the one hole he has and gets like 4 or 5 yards, maybe. It's been very difficult to watch. So we'll see how that goes. But when you're with your secondary, Rocky Scene that you guys had, we obviously traded for in order to get Yannick Ngakoue brought over here. How has he been? Because I know a lot of Colts Nation was upset that he was gone.
Yeah, Rock's been having a solid season. I think at one point he was a top 5 shutdown corner. He's been quietly playing, having a good season. He's not allowing a lot of deep passes. He was playing really well, especially when he was alongside of Nate Hobbs. Obviously, Nate Hobbs is out on injured reserve right now. Big blow to our defense. Anthony Averett stepped in as a starter last week. I think Amik Robertson may be coming in to take Averett's spot. But Rock he's been playing really well. I've been really impressed with what he did. I followed him a lot at Temple. I'm a Temple guy, so I followed him when he was at Temple, and I liked what he did. And I wanted the Raiders to draft him, so I'm excited that he's a Raider now.
Awesome. So just going real quickly into, is there a matchup for your secondary that you're looking at when it comes to the Colts wide receiver and tight end group? Because, Michael Pittman, coming on as a potential number one, Alec Pierce, who we drafted in the draft this year, he has definitely been solid whenever we decide to get him involved. Paris Campbell has been coming on really strong lately with putting on some good performances. Is there any matchup that you're looking at that you're going to be keeping your eye on?
I'm going to watch that Pittman and Rock Ya-Sin matchup. I think that's probably going to be the marquee one of the day. Seeing these guys battle. Obviously, they've gone against each other in practice. They know what they can do. They know each other's strengths and tendencies. They know each other's weaknesses. So if one of them can exploit it, then they will be able to do so. So I think that's going to be the one that we're going to look at.
Awesome. Special teams wise, how are you guys doing when it comes to kicking field goals and kickoffs and kick returns, stuff like that?
So as far as our kicking teams, we have the best kickers in the league. No, but honestly, like one of the things that the Raiders do pride themselves on is having some of the best kickers in the league. Going back to, Leckler and Janikowski, and now with AJ Cole and Daniel Carlson. Carlson's, I think, on pace right now to break the all-time consecutive kicks record. I think he's at 43 right now. He's just been lights out. He was huge for us last year, came up big for us in the last game of the season last year, where we ended up beating the Chargers and make the wild card. And he's been a big part of the Raiders team. AJ Cole is great. He's a guy who can, pin the ball back. Where the issue is the coverage teams, the kickoff team and the kick return. Sorry, the kickoff team, the kick return team, the punt team. All of those coverage teams just aren't that good. They're not solid. And then on the punt return team, you now lose your punt returner and Hunter Renfrow going out on the injured reserve list. So I don't even know who's going to be returning punts. It's probably going to be Amir Abdullah or DJ Turner. So those are
I
the
know our lad says that it's going to be Keelan Cole that'll return.
Yeah. So yeah, and so the Raiders. I mean, and that's the problem is the Raiders don't really have that speed. Last year we lost Henry Ruggs. You lose that speed. We had Deshaun Jackson. We let him go. He went to Baltimore. The Raiders don't really have that speed. Tyrone Johnson, they waved to him as well. So there's not that guy that can just break things open. And so that's going to be the biggest question. As far as the kicking, like I said, the kicking, PATs, the field goals, those are good. The punts are good. It's just the coverage on those teams.
Cool. All right. Well, I always like to end these with a final score prediction. So why don't you go ahead and give me your score prediction for this game?
Oh God, I'm gonna tell you right now. If the Raiders lose to a coach who's never coached in the National Football League, who's never coached at the collegiate ranks, was 3-5 in high school, and a third string quarterback, I swear I will lose my mind. But look, I got to go Raiders. Obviously, I'm gonna say 24-17 Raiders.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate because I've been in this boat where I've literally been. I don't think I've picked the Colts to win a game since week 4 on this channel. And everyone always hates the fact that I do that, but I have to be realistic. I don't see a situation where the Colts, who are giving up 4 sacks a week, are going to find a way to win against anyone. So, and like you said, Sam Ehlinger is a third string quarterback that is only playing in his 3rd game. And now he has to readjust how he plays the game with a new offensive staff at this point. So I think it's going to be 24-20. That's pretty much where I'm going with it. I'm surprised that I'm even saying that we'll score 20, considering the fact that we just had 121 yards of offense last week. I don't know. Maybe the enthusiasm of Jeff Saturday gets them to maybe want to play harder.
Hey, Jeff got me fired up.
Yeah, he has a lot of Colts Nation fired up.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I think he's handled that situation very well with everything going on. So we'll see how it goes. But hey, man, thank you so much for tuning in and helping me out with this. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments on this game. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts. What's going on, everybody? Today, I wanted to talk to you about our sponsor, BetStamp. Now, I know what you're thinking. Derek, another betting app? What is so different about this one now? Well, I got to tell you guys, I'm not into online gambling a whole lot and bets online and everything, but I got to tell you, BetStamp is one of the coolest things I have ever seen in regards to betting online. The great thing about BetStamp is it allows you to see all the different odds from all different sports books and see which one provides you the best odds possible for any game or scenario you want to bet on for your pick versus some of the worst. BetStamp allows you to also buy and sell picks that you have without worrying about losing your money or having any issues with it. Believe me, it's all free. I mean, look at this, guys. You have an option for every game across all different kinds of leagues in a ton of different ways. You have baseball, you have college football, UFC, NBA, and NFL. Great for the NFL season now being here. And if I wanted to bet on this Tennessee Titans versus Buffalo Bills game, it shows me in real time what are the best odds, which sports book I'm going to get the best offer from versus some of the worst ones. Because why would you want to earn less money from PointsBet when you could be winning more from ProLine Plus? Again, a great thing that BetStamp offers you, allowing you to make more money for the same pick just with a different sports book. How easy is that? And the great thing is there's not just games. There's player props, there's game props, there's lines, there's live tracking. There's a ton of great ways to make bets and picks on BetStamp, guys. Totally a cool thing to use. I highly encourage you to check it out if you're into any kind of online betting. Even if you're not, give it a check. See what you like about it, because I think I actually enjoy using it. But the best way to get an edge on online sports betting is having multiple accounts at different sports books. Be sure to hit the BetLink page, betstamp.app/onboarding. Be sure to check out the BetStamp app or online, and be sure to use the referral code JUICE, plug in your state, and you'll get access to all their affiliates and their prices once you open it up, seeing all states' lines. Be sure to check this out, guys. You won't want to miss it for the best odds on your next sports bet.